What's up, peeps? Today I have a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyways. Bobby Umar is an inspirational speaker, coach, and one of the most prolific advocates of heart-based leadership in North America. Inc. magazine named him one of the top 100 leadership speakers, and he's a 5 times TEDx speaker. And he's also one of the most top social media influencers in the world with over 500,000 followers. Bobby is the author of 3 international books, including a #1 bestseller, and he's a frequent Huffington Post contributor and the host of The Power of Connection, a morning live stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on LinkedIn. And if that wasn't enough, he's also the president at Ray Allen, transformational speaking and training, where he does coaching and online personal development programs, and he's the CEO of DYPB. Discover your personal brand. Bobby, thanks so much for being on, man. It's so great to have you.
I'm excited, Frank. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
All right. So before we get into this, what I like to do is allow our guests to just make a connection with the folks tuning in. And I like to do that by allowing you to give us a glimpse into the day of the life of Bobby, who you are and what makes you tick.
Sure. So, I've been a professional speaker for over 15 years and I've been doing that ever after having 3 or 4 careers where I felt lost and stuck unfulfilled. And so now I actually go around the world and I speak at conferences and events and companies to help people feel more empowered to, find their path and transition where they really want to go, to find more alignment and focus, impact, and legacy in their lives. And that's what I do with my speaking. It's what I do with my coaching. And, I'm fired up every day by doing presentations at an event. So I'll keynote on a stage at a conference or at a company, or I'll deliver content like my live stream, or I'll do like a broadcast, or I'll share a video to just help people and coach them with my online programs as well as one-on-one, to help them figure out, okay, how do I find more alignment in my life? How do I find more joy and fulfillment? How do I find more impact with what I'm trying to do, whether it's as in a corporate world or the entrepreneurship world? And it fuels me every day. And in most of my work on an ongoing basis, like how I spend my day is I create presentations, I do coaching, I might have calls, and then I deliver, messages and emails and content, and I create the content and I put it out there. And that's really what I'm doing to try to inspire the world.
All right. So how did you get here? How did you get started? And if you don't mind, share a little bit about the journey of how you got to where you are today. You're pretty interesting. And I know we talked a little bit about before we went live, how you sustained it all. And you said something very funny, which I won't take, but you do a lot, and to be where you're at today, and I think you're everywhere. I see you a lot, and you're doing so much. So how did you get to where you are today?
Well, part of it was feeling lost as a leader. So I tried engineering. It didn't really work out. I then decided to start a musical theater company, produce and directed musicals, and grew that to about 150 people in 4 years. And I was like, maybe I should go into entertainment. Did my MBA, tried to get entertainment, couldn't do it. I wasn't a good networker back then. So I went into brand marketing, started doing brand marketing for a couple of years. And then after that, I was like, this is also just way too many hours, 80 hours a week. And I was tired and didn't feel like it fit. And so I had to figure out, what am I going to do? So then I dove into my personal brand, dove into my values, interests, skills, passions. And what screamed at me was I should be a professional speaker. Everyone was saying that. Everyone's saying, Bobby, you're a great talker. You're great at connecting the audience and relaying the messages and the messages and the lessons back to them for work or whatever they're doing in their lives. So why don't you do that? And so that's what I started, and that's what I launched, and I've never looked back. Now, in terms of how it started in the beginning, it was hard. I certainly had a large network before the advent of LinkedIn, Facebook, and these other social media platforms. I had always kept actually an Excel sheet of all my contacts that I met over the years. So I had like 3,000 names. And so when I launched my business, I just sent an email to 3,000 people. And I sent a brochure to 500 people. And then the first few years of my work was just referral only. And I was talking most about networking, but then pretty soon I started talking about personal branding, and that really took off. People like that. And then people said, hey, social media, I watch social media. I was like, this is something that's here to stay. So when I did my first TEDx talk, I was like, let me invest in social media. So I decided to launch my Twitter strategy, my Facebook page, my newsletter, and I just started putting things out there after that first TEDx talk. And within 6 months, I had about 5,000 followers on Twitter. And I got my first speaking gig off it, because they're like, wow, we love what you talk about, Bobby, about leadership. Can you come in and do a session? I'm like, of course I can. And that's when I realized, okay, you know what? Social media, I need to invest. And so that's why I started building it up, got to 100,000 on Twitter, and that's when things really took off. And now a lot of my energy is spent on LinkedIn, which I'm now, if you combine my company page and my personal profile, I'm now at around 50,000 followers. Because to me, social media is here to stay, and I want to invest in that. And I think that's when things, the TEDx talk plus the social media growth, plus getting a speaker agent really helped me take off and start doing more talks all around the world and being more prolific with the work that I do. So that's kind of really how it's gotten there. And in terms of how I manage everything, I dive in everything, but then if it doesn't work, I scale back and I readjust. So, dove into Snapchat, didn't work, I scale back. I dove into Vine, didn't work, scale back. I dove into LinkedIn videos, actually. I did one every day. But 7 days a week is crazy. And then I went down to 5, went down to 3, and then I was like, went down to 1 week because I was like, this is really overwhelming. And now I just focus on the live streams, and I actually don't need to do that many live uploaded videos. Although I do now do them on my company page, but on my profile page, it's more the live stream 3 times a week. So I'm adjusting and evolving. I get feedback all the time. I learn and grow, whether it's a speaker, whether it's my topics, whether it's how I'm trying to be better and try to evolve for the future.
Great. And I love how you touched on, you mentioned the stuff that you tried and kind of like, let me scale back, because I feel like a lot of us, we try something, you got to give it enough time to try something to see, is it going to work and you just need some time to grow, or is this really not going to be for you? And you pull back and you kind of focus your effort somewhere else. And I feel like that's such even non-entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs specifically, as we know, we do stuff and we want it to work so hard, and knowing, you have to know, and you have to have that self-awareness to say, it's time to pull back and focus our efforts somewhere else. So I love how you've shown that you've tried stuff that didn't work, because it's a good thing for folks to hear who are tuning in, that not everything they do is going to pop, and you need to recognize that and know when it is time to scale back.
Yeah, and the big thing to realize is that saying no to new opportunities is saying yes to current priorities. And that, like, for example, perfect example is TikTok. Bobby, get on TikTok. Everyone's on TikTok. It's exploding. And you know what? I'm focused on LinkedIn and growing that. I'm doing a little bit of Instagram too, but LinkedIn is where I'm trying to focus my energy. TikTok, if that was the one place and I wanted to really dive in and take ownership of it, I would do that. And that's what I did with Twitter when it first came out, because I was kind of riding out. But for me, I'm focused my energy on LinkedIn.
Got it. So knowing all the folks you get to deal with, I mean, you're being on the TEDx scene and having, I mean, it's, for so many people, it's a dream to do one TEDx, and for you to do 5 of them, and you've been able to meet so many people along that route, and you speak, I mean, way outside of that. I mean, all the speaking engagement you've done, all the people you interact with, and then you've got your coaching and your mastermind, and all these people you get to meet and who pick your brain, and you get to kind of take a peek under their hood and see what they're all about. If you could give a piece of advice to those tuning in, where you're like, this is something I would love for someone to take away, what would that one piece of advice be?
Well, I think the best piece of advice I can give you is to really put it out there. Whatever it is you're trying to do, put it out there. You want to get a coach, put it out there. You want to develop a program, put it out there. You want to actually create content, put it out there. Just start and put it out there, because most people, they hold back, and that the dreams lay in their head forever. And the dream in your head forever is nothing fulfilled, right? So you want to actually put the stuff out there and just start telling people, talking about it. I always say passion is nothing without communication or action. If you don't talk about it, if you don't act on it, it's not really a passion. It's merely a passing interest. If you're passionate about something, whether it's, it's about health and fitness, or it's about, toxic culture, burnout, or whatever it is you're trying to do, get out there and start talking about it and put it out there. And I think a lot of people don't do that. But once you start putting it out there, people will respond and people will start engaging it. And pretty soon you'll start to evolve into finding something that really works for you. Great.
And when you look at all the great things you get to do, in being, hey, this is Bobby, and here's what you get to enjoy. What is that? What's that fuel that keeps you going? What is that? You're like, this is it. This is what I love. When I see it, this gets me going. It keeps me pressing on. And when you have those dark days, you look back and you're like, that's all right. It's okay to deal with some dark days, because this is what really fuels me, and this is my passion.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, as an extrovert, I mean, and as a performer on stage, you know, I definitely feel the energy of the crowd. So being on stage in a keynote and for 500 people or 1,000 people, I feed off that energy, seeing them react when they laugh, they cry, they emote, whatever. I love that kind of stuff. But, you know, and that's great. But the other part that is really great is where I'll go into the audience and someone will come up to me and we have a profound moment. You know, one time there was a woman who came up to me and said, you know, I'm really feeling lost. And she talked about uh, running away from her husband who was abusive and going into a halfway house with her son. And she just looked like she was about to lose it. And I just said, hey, listen, whatever it is, it's okay. I'm here for you. And she just burst out crying. And then I hugged her for like 3 minutes. And she said, like, your message is so powerful. And I want to find a vision. I want to find myself. I feel so lost. And I don't want to feel lost anymore. And knowing that my message resonates with someone like her and compels her to try to do something different and better and take her life to the next level. And then seeing her do that, because I now know where she's at and what she's doing, that kind of stuff like just really touches my heart. And that is exactly the thing that fuels my why statement, which is, you know, I know what the pain point people feel. I know people feel lost, stuck, or unfulfilled, and they want to go somewhere better. And so when I get up every day, my why statement and people like her, that's the stuff that fuels me to keep going, to share my message, to help as many people as I can.
And that is super, super powerful, because not only you said something that tied into it perfectly. So you met this woman, kind of had that moment with her. But what I really liked is that you said you know where she's at today. So
Yeah.
you had that, you know, like it didn't just die there; it stayed going. And so that's for someone to make an impact on someone's life, and then to know, like, hey, a year ago or whatever it was, like you look back, you're like, remember that, you know, that moment, and that you were this sort of catalyst in that person's life. That's something that can fuel you for long term. But you know, I imagine the number of people you get to meet and the number of lives you get to impact, that happens more often. And sometimes you don't even know. You know, sometimes someone sitting in that audience who hears you speak, is ignited by something you say, and you may not even be able to interact with them, but they go home and they make a change in their life. And it was that hearing that day at that time that caused it. So that's just the amazing part of what, you know, you get to do every day. So that's great.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's a really powerful thing to have that. And people don't know. Sometimes I talk about my health struggles, you know, and I'll get a message from someone saying, you know, I've been following your health journey for 6 years. I've never messaged you, but here I am. I love what you're doing. Can you help me with this? And it's like, whoa, yeah, of course, let's do it. And I love that kind of stuff. It's amazing.
And so on the flip side of that, a little bit is, you know, you again, you get to see people, you get to interact with people. I mean, you're changing lives, literally. If there was something that you see this all the time, and you're like, you know what I run across, or you see this in people, or, you know, whatever that thing might be, that if you can change it, and you can, you know, stop it from happening, or switch it off, or maybe, you know, again, give that piece of advice to say, listen, this isn't reality, a common misconception. What is that one thing that if you can change it and you had that magic touch, you do it? What would that be?
If I could find a way to turn off or silence or mute every single naysayer, right? Because all that stuff, all these naysayers that are coming at you, including the worst one, which is the one inside your head, if I can get that person to shut the heck up and start listening to what actually really matters, which is, here's what I can do, here's what I'm capable of, here's what I can see, here's what I envision myself. If we can just find a way to shut off or mute all the naysayers, both external and internal in your head, that would be a godsend. I would love that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of, and I know, you know, Mark Metry. Mark and I had a conversation, and that's something Mark talks about too, is that we put these thoughts and manifest these negative thoughts in our mind that, and you mentioned it earlier too, stop us from doing things, or stop us from people that have these amazing ideas, and like, it'll never happen. You manifest that inside yourself, and you stop yourself from potential greatness because of the negativity. So I love that.
Fear, doubt, you know, all second guessing, all that kind of stuff. Like it holds people out. Your mindset is the biggest culprit. It's also the biggest ally you can have if you can learn to figure that out.
Yes. So one of my favorite parts of the show is this right here. It's a kind of a chance to let you pontificate a little bit, you know, be a little bit Nostradamus, and where we're at today. Where are we going to be in 5-10 years? Yes, on the horizon. What do you see out there?
You know, it's interesting. I see now people office spaces with 2 screens, and they also have a laptop, and they have a machine. They also have a phone, and they have an Apple Watch. And I think I'm big on connection, the power of connection. That's my brand. The future of connection. I think it's going to be really interesting because people are going to struggle to find the balance between connection and disconnection. And as we move towards a gig economy, there's going to be far more people that aren't working in traditional workspaces. They're going to be working from home, working in coffee shops, working in workspaces. They're going to be freelancers, contractors, things like that. And I think people are going to struggle with, how do I shut off this stuff to really focus on the connections and things that matter. And so what I imagine in the future, in 5 years from now, I imagine everyone has like 5 or 6 digital media type doohickeys in their setup, right? And they're going to have to figure out how to manage that and to learn how to be on, but also how to be off, and learn how to be on, when they're actually off. And find that balance, because I think people are going to struggle. I think it's going to be hard for them because, companies are going to, it's different in a corporate setting. Like there's a cubicle there, your boss comes over, you do your work, have your projects. But I think most people are going to be working from home or working at the coffee shop. And so it's going to be a completely different virtual world. And I think people are going to struggle with that and find that balance between what's virtual and online and what's live and in person. Already we're struggling with having to put our phones away for a dinner, right? And I think that struggle is going to get, I think it's going to get worse. And I think and people are going to try to figure out ways to integrate it. And you're going to, I think, just like the way we integrate, like you and I probably integrate across several social media platforms. I think in the future, people are going to integrate across 4 or 5 different technology tools that like whether it's their TV screen or whether it's their computer screen or their smartphone, whatever it is. But they're going to have to find a way to integrate their lives with this because it's going to be part of their lives. But they also have to find a way to get around that. I think that's going to be the big challenge. And there's some people are going to be ahead of it, and other people are going to be stuck in it. Just like people nowadays are stuck, the people who are, laggards in technology and Luddites, and they're trying to catch up just to technology, there's going to be people 5 years now who are ahead in terms of finding that balance, and other people who are completely drowned in the social media, online technology world, and they can't get away.
Yeah, and pop, you pop there. Yeah, I got to pop there. And I think it's funny because I was down in South Florida last month, and I was on the beach, and the amount of people who are sitting on the beach with a laptop on the lap is crazy. It's like, yeah, I'm going on vacation. No, you're really not. You're just sitting on the beach working. So you changed from being behind your desk to being on the beach, but you really didn't take the vacation. You didn't. So I think that, unplugging, we hear that word a lot, like, oh, I'm unplug, but you don't unplug. You really never do unplug unless you really leave the stuff out of there. And not many people know how to do that. So totally agree there. And I think that's, and even for kids, and I know, I have a 7-year-old daughter, our children who grow up around this, starting that disconnect with them now to say, nope, it's time for put your nose in a book. Like my daughter loves to read. So it's like, go read, get away from the iPad and go dance and go do something that doesn't have to do with technology for a little while.
And it's amazing. My kids are 9, 11. So my daughter's 9, my son's 11. And yeah, like this they had a school day off because there was a strike at the school, one day strike. So they were at home. And then for 2 hours, they were actually reading books. I was like, yes, like this is amazing. That's what I want. Because, I'm really mindful of tech. Because, if they had their way, they would definitely want screen time. That's what they love, number one. That and ice cream, right? That's all they care about. But, we've created a system where they now love to read and they're really into it and they can spend time on their own. And I think it's going to be hard for parents to deal with that. But, it just takes patience. But I think it's important for us to really help them as well because they're going to need the most help out of anybody.
Yes, crucial. All right, man. So thanks for being on. Where do we find you? I know you're everywhere with all the social media and the things that you do. I mean, you're putting out, and what's cool about what you do is you put out different content across different platforms. So where if someone tunes in and says, hey, I want to know more about Bobby or I want to learn more, where are we sending them? And I'm sure that's multiple spots, but let us know.
Yeah. So, my main website for professional speaking and coaching is rayallen.com. For personal branding, it's dypb.ca. And then for social media, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn are my 3 main ones. But I'd say that my LinkedIn profile, personal profile, follow me there. But I also have a company page, also called Bobby Umar. Those are probably the best places to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for being on and for touching in. I I loved your input there, and I'm sure the folks will. And anyone who has any questions, feel free to drop them in, and we'll make sure we get them answered. But Bobby, I truly appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it.